with Intention, podcast where we bring you stories from around the globe. Hello and welcome, our beautiful listeners, to another episode on Rise and Thrive Mornings with Intention. And today I have a beautiful guest with me, Myriam-Rose Kohn, and she's gonna be dazzling us with her expertise and things like that. But first, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, Ewa. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, and I'm so excited to have you here. And please tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and anything else you'd like to share with us at this point.
Sure. How much time do we have? Because I can make it long and I can make it short.
The
Okay,
floor is yours.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So, I'm originally from Belgium, and I had a lot of skills coming there because I came from business school. When I was studying, you couldn't graduate unless you did shorthand typing, which is obsolete today, in four languages because Belgium is mostly a transit country. So English is my third language, but thank goodness I got my education over there because I'm excellent at grammar and choosing words. So anyway, when I came here, I came in on a student visa, and I still had to go at least 2 years to school. I did a lot more than that, but I self-financed my education while I went through college and university, and I worked 52 hours a week. My day off was Wednesday, but in those days we went 5 days a week to school. So sometimes I would go 2 or 3 months without a day off. And so, but I made it. I graduated with a double major and with honors. And then after that, I actually wanted to get to a PhD. But as I was working toward my master's, somehow I got married in between. And then, even though I wanted to wait to have children, the children came anyway. So my PhD was on hold. Never made it, but I got my master's. And I was home as a single mom. No, not as a single mom. I was married. As I was home and raising my children, which I loved, loved, loved. I hated to have to go and put my children in school every September in those days. But anyway, so fast forward a few years, and there was trouble in the marriage, and so I was on my own, and I had to start making a living. So because my ex did not allow me to work while we were married. So now back to the grind, and I found a part-time position at a local college, and I also started my business, knowing what I had before. I started offering, and we're talking 80s now, administrative support services, and the office did it in 19 languages, not just English. And then my clients started to come to me. Now I'm coming to you as to what brought me to this line of work. uh,
Okay.
my clients started to come to me and say, before the jobs always came to me, now I have to submit a resume. So I said, well, I'll find out. I always try to do the best I can for my clients, but I will never pretend to know something I don't. So I got in touch. At the time, there was only one professional organization for resume writers. Today, there are four, but at the time, only one. And so I took that course of study and practice and wrote and submitted and passed the exam. So I became a certified professional resume writer, but the resume only gets your foot in the door. What gets you the position? I don't like the word job. It's like, oh, I got to get up and go to work. Oh, no, no, no. So, uh, because the resume only gets your foot in the door, I became a certified employment interview professional so that I could help my clients with the interviews. In other words, the questions they need to pose, because people think they just have to answer questions. No, no, it's a two-way conversation. What is it you want to ask? And then I coach my clients on which questions to pose. Of course, it's different from different fields, right? And as I go down and tell you about my journey, you'll hear when I help executives downsize, it's very difficult for them to find another position because people said, you did that. Why do you want to work at a lower level? But sometimes they do. They don't want the responsibilities anymore. So how do you bridge that gap during the interview? And so that had to connect with the interviewer and also how to conduct compensation negotiations. We don't call them salary negotiations anymore because so much more is involved today, especially with the remote work. And then my client said, well, we have this problem and that problem. One thing I have, once a client works with me, for some reason, he or she always likes to continue. And so they're pretty much a lifelong relationship we have because things pop up at work. Maybe you're in the right place, but you have a bad boss. How do you handle that? Or you're in the right place, but you can't get your team as a cohesive unit. How do you handle that? See, I became a career coach and trained with the International Coaching Federation to do that so that I can truly help my clients. So it's one more thing I added. And then as my clients needed more stuff, let's make long story short now, I became a master career director. And so I can help with resumes, LinkedIn writing, executive bios, career coaching, whatever the clients need. Now, early 90s, my ex left overnight, literally. He came home one day at 5 p.m. and he said, I'm out tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. He was out with stuff. So he said it was supposedly a trial separation. Well, then you don't take everything with you, right? So clearly the writing was on the wall, but he never allowed me to work really while we were married. So now all of a sudden he's gone, and am I going to pay bills and feed the children and all of that? So another career transition. So when I talk about career transitions now, when I went through it, there were no career coaches yet because that didn't really start in the late 90s and this was early 90s. So I know where the pitfalls lie. I know where the doubts come in. It would have been so nice to have someone to turn to and say, what do I do now? And, this popped up. How should I handle this? So I ensure, you asked me when we first met, what I do is I ensure my clients get paid for work they enjoy doing so they can lead a more joyous and harmonious life. And if they don't remember what to do, then we do career exploration first. And if it shows they should or they want to become an entrepreneur, I support them that way. And if it shows or they choose to work for someone else, I coach them on how to conduct a proper job search. I don't find the jobs for them. That's a totally different field. But I coach them on how to do it. Once they know how to do it, they're set for life, right? Pretty much. So it's not filling out applications and waiting to be called, not in today's world. So 70% of the jobs are usually not advertised. So I coach my clients on how to get behind the curtain and find those positions, how to connect with the hiring managers. Once they know that, then I write their resume and LinkedIn profile because you need both today. 92% of employers go and check you out on LinkedIn if they like your resume before they even call you in. And so once they have their documents and they get called in for an interview, I do the interviewing techniques and compensation negotiations. And when everything's done, we do personal and digital branding if they're so inclined. So that's it in a nutshell. I just don't bring it's long
Wow,
enough. I
you did my whole interviewing for me.
it's it is I don't just bring what I was taught. I bring a lot of life experience to my clients. I have a lot of empathy because I went through it. I know what it is. It's a scary time, and it really upsets me when I see some resume mills, they charge $5,000 for what? And they don't even support the client. I'm not going to tell them, go and watch this webinar or watch this interview. I mean, I may sometimes, but then we discuss it. I don't leave it on their own. I literally hold my client's hand till they reach their goal because they, figuratively, of course, right? When I
Yeah.
say I hold their client's hand, because they have someone to turn to, someone to go through it. They don't have to do it alone. It's a very scary time. And in today's world, there's so much misinformation out there, that does not help the client. And then let me continue your interview with Wi-Fi.
I'll just sit here and drink my coffee.
I just want to say this because it's very important for people to understand. Yes, there's GPT today. It cannot write the resume for you. It can improve some of your sentences and give you ideas. And the reason that cannot is because your resume consists of three parts. Number one, you have to address your prospective employer's needs. Number two, you have to differentiate yourself from the other candidates, and we don't know who they are, right? And the third thing is you have to be able to pass the applicant tracking system. That's the system the companies put you in, and they look for certain words. And then if they find them, they call you for an interview. If they don't, you will never be called. And ChatGPT doesn't know you, and ChatGPT doesn't know your prospective employer. That's why it cannot write an effective resume. It's very important for people to understand that. All right. If they
Mm.
want to be at the top of the heap, that's what it's best to get in touch with someone who's professionally trained in that.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I mean, definitely. Like I know in the past I've applied to jobs and I was sure I was gonna get it and I never did. Because again, it goes through that system you were saying and I'm like, well, what's wrong with my resume? Like it looks good, it's professionally done, but it all makes sense, right? But that's just one instinct. And yeah, you're absolutely right. ChatGPT does not know you as a person. He can only write so much, give you guidance, but that's it. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
The rest
Mm-hmm.
is out the window.
That's right. That's right. And you have to know there are 40 different types of applicant tracking systems out there. And we don't know which company uses which one, right? Unless you're on the inside and you work in HR, you would know. But like this, we don't know. So we have to do the best possible um, thing we can. And so far, so good. My clients get interviews, so I'm happy with that. The rest is on their own, right? I can only guide them so much.
Yeah.
But
And
I'm definitely
yeah.
go on.
And I love what you said earlier that you're there with your client every step of the way.
Mhm,
And I remember when I signed up for coaching and a while back and I can read, I can write. I can pick up a book, no problem. But I was looking for a coach. And when I signed up for the program, I never got that commitment from that coach. They just grabbed the money and they ran. And I
not
told
good.
myself, when I become a coach, I want to be there for my clients. I want to be there for my students.
Mhm,
Of course, I can't be there 24/7, but I will still be there when I can, and I'll guide you until you get your results, right? But
right.
I'm not like, this is the thing that I was like, wow, is this how this society is now? It just grabs the money and goes. I was like, no, that's not how I have values, and I want to stand by them, and I want to make sure my client, so I loved what you said earlier. I
Mhm.
mean, it takes a mentor to guide you through these things and that's really important, so I love that, absolutely love that.
Thank you. Well, it's my job to keep up what's going on in the labor market because otherwise I'm no good to my client.
Yeah,
And it's not what I think should go in the resume, is I know what's expected in the market today, right? So
yeah,
it's always a collaboration between the client and me. Sometimes they say, I don't like this, I don't like that. And then I either substantiate it or I agree with them, depending on what the situation may be. But yes, like you, I have values. It's very important to be there. Like I said, it's a scary time for people. They don't know where to turn. And if you have a big marketing blitz because you have a lot of money, then people go and believe them because they see the name over and over again. But
yeah,
they're actually much better off with the smaller organizations or like you, people like you and I who really care about our clients, but we don't have the money to go and spend it on, marketing and advertising because we try to, look, I'm in there to really help my clients, but
yeah,
it is the way I make a living. So I have to charge something.
yeah, of
I do
course.
pro, I
And
do
you
pro,
have Yeah. And you have all the expertise, and you're doing your research, you upgrade it constantly to be in the know and to help your client at the same time, right? So we have to
Correct.
be in the know, in order to keep up and help, your clients. So
Yeah.
you've been featured in over 35 books and publications. Like that is amazing. What's been the most rewarding aspect of contributing to these works? Tell us about that, please.
And the most rewarding is that clients get in touch with me because my name is listed on the back, right? And so that's rewarding. I have to tell you, the most rewarding part of my work is I'm going in a little tangent here. I'm aware you were, but I want to say
It's all good.
that.
You're making it too easy for me, so go right ahead.
uh, what was hold on, I lost my train of thought.
Books
Uh,
and publications and the
Thank you.
rewards.
Yes,
You're welcome.
the most rewarding part for me in my work is when I see my clients' face loom, when they see an end of the tunnel, an end at the end of the tunnel, and they see new possibilities. Because I told you, I want my clients to do the work they want to do. Now, let's be reasonable. You can't be a surgeon or an architect or an engineer overnight, but you can start working in that field. And maybe you're 50, so maybe you can't be the surgeon, but you can get quite close to that level. Not overnight, right? I want to make that very clear, because what I do, my clients are people who are, I mean, if you're in the same field, you just need a salary increase. Of course, I can help you. And I do. But because of the pandemic, and along the way, I've been a coach for more than 30 years now. I've met so many people who are miserable, but miserable in their work and won't leave it for fear of losing the paycheck.
I was one of those before.
So, no, there's no need for that today. People who are burned out, you don't just have nurses and physicians, you have attorneys, you have plenty of people who are burned out on their work. And there's no need for that today. um, People who have been like my situation was, but people who have been out of work for some time and then need to return to work. The market has changed. How do you approach it, right? Executives who want to downsize, military people having to return to civilian life. That's also a big adjustment. So these are the people I work with and, help along. So to me, when they say, oh, there's no way out, or they say, I'm in my 50s. I'm getting too old. Nobody's going to hire me. No, not true. I mean, I wouldn't suggest you go and apply at the Gap. That's really a youthful organization. But there are plenty of other things you can do. I had a gentleman who was 57 years old. He was a technical recruiter, had been laid off, and said, that was a couple of years ago. And he says, well, I'll never find another position. And not true. We find him another position with more money and closer to home. So it also depends on how you present yourself, with ageism. I have to say, we older people, we do have to learn to get along with the younger generation because we have the experience and the know-how, but they have the creative ideas
Yeah.
in the world because they grew up in a different world. Let's face it, right? They don't know what a rotary phone is, for instance,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
how would
exactly.
they live with that phone in there, which you and I can still do, but they
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
So it's just one example. You have to that's a clue. You have to be able to get along with the younger generation and not say, I know better because I'm older. No, 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 no. Then you won't get hired. But
Yeah.
if you're willing to work and train or mentor even the younger generation in certain things and accept their ideas and discuss them, no problem.
Yeah.
Except in certain cultures, like I
Yeah.
said.
And of course, it's a give and take. Like, that's what I say. I have a 5-year-old daughter, and at some point, I'm gonna be old, and she's gonna be like, Mom, don't you know this? And I'll have to be open-minded. And I'm so grateful to be able to have an awareness and open-mindedness because I know a lot of people out there don't, or they're stuck in the old or something like that. So
Mhm.
I think that is really, really important to be able to commingle or however whatever you want to call it, like collective consciousness, and
Mhm.
learn from one another. We all have something to learn from one another. Like I
Yeah,
have something to learn from you and vice versa, or
right.
whatever, right? But we have to be open-minded to that. That's what my belief is, at least.
So to answer your question, no, I agree with you. Do you to answer your question about the books? Is I get greater exposure, and I love to speak, so I always accept invitations to speak to groups because I can get my message out there to more people at one time. And that's what the books do for me. And people also get me through the various organizations I belong to, which I have to, because you can't keep up by yourself in what you do, not even in your own field. So, I have a network of people, like somebody maybe in psychology, and maybe somebody in engineering, somebody in IT. Well, I say somebody, more than one. And I attend seminars and workshops to keep up to date to what's new in that field so I can properly guide my clients. Yeah, seeing that it's possible on my client's face is just the most rewarding thing for me.
So what would you say, I want to get into some tips you can give people, a little bit snippet here and there. What common mistakes do you see people making with their resumes, and how can they avoid them? Can you give us at least some tips?
Yeah, I still see people, which surprises me, right, with I and me. Personal pronouns have no business in resume writing. If you say at the top, you have to do a little summary and you have to put a title. Maybe it's a target. You haven't done it, but you're able to do the work. You put target and then the title of what it is you want to be. You do one or two small paragraphs, no more than 4 or 5 lines each, or people won't read it. And if you say proven record, you better be proving it. Otherwise, it's a generality that anyone can write. So under that section, you put highlights or selected achievements, highlights of achievements. And then you go into your experience, as it were. Education goes at the end, even for a recent graduate, unless you're going to be a teacher or you have many works to which you have either contributed or you have authored, then you have a CV, and then you have an education first, and then you have to, of course, substantiate all of that. So yes, that's what you do. Resumes are usually kept to 2 pages. If there are certain things you feel, if you're getting your 40s and up and you've accomplished some things and you would like to incorporate it, just make an addendum, if people are interested. Because listen, if we don't grab their interest in the first 2 paragraphs and achievements there, we have 7 seconds, right? That's all it is today. They're not going to read down the page anyway. So you might as well make it short, digestible for the reader, and then have an addendum if you absolutely need to mention other things.
Exactly. So can you share some tips on how to maintain confidence during a challenging work, or because we don't like the word jobs search, especially when facing repeated rejections? Because I know it does happen. It's happened to me before as well.
To me too, when I was younger. Just keep believing in yourself when no one else does. It's the most important thing. I'm going to say it again. Believe in yourself when no one else does. Sometimes you have to hear a lot of no's before you hear a yes. So I know it's gets to be disheartening, but you cannot give up. You only fail if you give up.
Exactly. So how do you help individuals who are making major career transitions, such as switching industries or returning to the workforce after a break? We touched a little bit on that, but can you spend just a tiny bit more, please?
Yes. So uh, we have conversations. First of all, if people don't remember what they want to do, as I said, we do career explorations. In that phase, I find out what their motivations are, what their preferred activities are, and we start gearing toward that first. And then I have them do some research as to what it is they'd like to do with the skills that they have, because we all have transferable skills. And so this is how I help them along. Is it okay if I give a couple of examples of?
Of course.
Okay, so there was an administrative assistant. That was kind of easy. She wanted to become a scuba diver instructor, but could not afford the scuba diving lessons herself. So that was easy enough. We just had to find her a position as an administrative assistant with the scuba diving school, because then she was part of the staff and now she could take the classes at a reduced rate and people got to know her. And I think it took her 2, maybe 3 years. I don't remember exactly, but she became certified and she became a scuba diving instructor. Not impossible. I had a gentleman who was a project manager and always worked indoors. But when I asked him to make me a board, a picture board, everything was outside. So I asked him, "What are you doing inside?" and so, and
Right?
so, and so it came out that his dream had always been to be a motorcycle race driver.
Wow.
By the time he got to me, he was married with 2 small children. You knew very well his wife wasn't going to let him do that. However, we did the next best thing for him using his project manager skills. We got him into the aftermarket of the motorcycle world. And so he got to work at the motorcycle track. And if those young race drivers let him use their motorcycles once in a while, who needed to know, right? But he was in an environment that made him happy. He got to work with motorcycles and all that stuff. So that's another example. So you always try to be close to what they really want. If you want to do a major shift, it's not impossible. Um, the 2 things I'm going to reiterate now because we talked about this, but it's very important. Number one, believe in yourself, no matter what people say. Number two, you can achieve your dreams, but it's not overnight, right? So maybe you want to be an architect. Well, that takes years of study, but you can start by working in an architectural office, bringing your skills over there, having a conversation with the person who would be your manager, let's say. Just call up. All you have to do is ask for a 10-minute interview and keep it to 10 minutes because the people's time is valuable,
Yeah,
everybody. So keep
exactly.
it to that and just be honest and say, well, I'm looking into it. Would you mind having a 10-minute, or if you want 15 minutes, be upfront about it, conversation with me about what you expect and how should I go about this. Other ways are for people to shadow someone. They do it with police work, I know, but they do it with other um, professions as well, where you can follow somebody one all day long and see if that's really what you want to do. Because sometimes there are things in there nobody tells you about and go, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah.
An example would you'd want to do police forensics, yeah, but then you go and you look at the corpse who maybe has already decomposed and you can't take it.
Yeah. I'll be
Maybe
out
not
so
the field
fast.
for you. Do something
Oh,
else.
yeah. Eh,
Or it can
yeah.
happen in the hospital too, right? You want to work yourself up to surgeon. Well, you start at the lower end, and maybe you start in the administrative offices, and then you work up to being a nurse, taking classes, and then going up. I just one way of doing it. But
Yeah.
if you can't see people bleeding and open wounds, that's not the job for you. Maybe do something else in the medical
Yeah.
field.
Something
So
similar. Yeah. There's so many options nowadays, especially nowadays. There's endless possibilities.
the thing is, today we no longer have to do what our parents said, what our partner said. It's our time. What do you want to do? Well, my spouse says no. What do you want to do? It's so I always have my client's best interest at heart. They
Yeah.
don't have to work for me, then just make sure they're on the right track and be happy in their work. We all have a bad day at work, but overall,
Yeah.
you should be getting up in the morning, rise and thrive, right? Look forward to your day, What can I accomplish today? Who am I going to meet today? What kind of project can we do? You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the attitude.
Yeah,
Have to.
exactly. We know way too many people who are not happy with their jobs. They do it because of the paycheck or something else. And I did that too, before. And that doesn't mean I wasn't grateful for the job I had. It just wasn't after some time, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is not truly me. And it was time, you just know it's time to move on. And at first it was like how do you stand alone all of a sudden without the job and the security blanket versus and then and then face the world again right after like 7 8 years and some people 30 40 years, right? But you know what, it's not impossible. You just have to go out there, believe in yourself, like you said, have the confidence that you're gonna find what you're passionate about and go after it. That's my belief too now, right now, whereas before, yeah, have to listen, go do that, go do this, and
Mhm.
then it may not resonate with you, and you have to eventually stop, really evaluate what you like, what your values are, what you really are passionate about, and go after it.
Right. Right.
I find myself right now doing things I never thought I would be doing. If you asked me 20 years ago, I'll be doing this, I would have been, yeah, sure, okay. I would have laughed. Or being an author, like I've dreamed about it. Maybe not so a dream, but it was a great idea. And, look at me now, 3 times international best-selling author. And who knows what's coming up next. But it's only because I was willing to step out of my comfort zone and go
That's
after
it.
what I really wanted.
Right. That's exactly what you have to do. Step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
No, but
And you
look,
never know. You might find something amazing out there. Like you said earlier, that gentleman is like, oh, I don't know. All of a sudden he finds something even better, 10 times as much better, or who knows, right? Yeah.
yes,
So,
absolutely.
so if you're somebody out there who's wants to make a change, not sure how to do it, looking for that dream job, here's a beautiful lady who can help you with that. So we will post in these videos information how you can get in touch with Myriam-Rose, and she can help you go after your dream job or whatever. Or yeah, we're not supposed to call it a job. Um,
Well, I don't like the word, let's say, position, right? So,
position. Yes,
and yet
exactly.
it's in my title, right? Because I'm known as the dream job expert, but
Yeah.
dream position expert doesn't sound good.
Yeah, but when you do what you love, it doesn't even have to be called a job. It's
Right.
what you love doing, right? So, in spirit of this podcast, it is named Arise and Thrive Mornings with Intention. How important do you think it is to set that intention in the morning, or what's your thoughts about it?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't know if you were talking to your audience or to me.
Mm. It's all good.
Okay. I think it's very important. But if you do what you love, you rise with that intention anyway. Because it's what can I do today? What will happen today? What good things? It's and the whole vibe change. And it's also, I didn't mention this, but it's important for your health, right? Because if you're miserable, you get a lot of headaches, your blood pressure rises, and then, you get diseases. And if you do what you love, you have a lot fewer headaches and lower blood pressure. I mean, I'm not a doctor, don't get me wrong, but I know that from my own personal experience as well and what my clients tell me, right? Your whole life changes and you feel so much lighter and brighter. I mean, don't you feel that with your new
Of
look?
course. Of course. Like you feel like a brand new person. And I was just talking to somebody the other day. I was like, that age is just a number because I have my birthday soon, well, in December. But I said I feel like I'm in my 20s and I'm far from that. But I feel like so uplifted, young, and I mean, we do get things here and there, a little sniffle, but
Uh,
we feel happy, and you definitely shine in a different way.
Absolutely, I agree with you. So,
Yeah.
yes, so people who are miserable, they need to start thinking about doing something else, and even if they guidance, they can come to you, they can come to me. We're here to help them. So,
Exactly. That's what we're here for. So thank you so much for being on our podcast today. I hope you guys enjoyed this beautiful podcast and all the golden nuggets here. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Myriam-Rose, for being my guest today. I absolutely love this, and can have wait to have you again on our show.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoyed being here, and I hope it was of some benefit to your listeners. Thank you
Of
so
course.
much.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.